I wasn't quite ready to give this thing a chance. Stock sticky bombs have always treated me well, and all unlockable sticky bomb launchers had always seemed like just somewhat of a worse option. But the quickiebomb launcher changed that when I actually picked it up. When looking at its stats for the first time in what felt like forever, I had noticed that one stood out to me among everything else. Up to 35% damage based on charge would be it. This, in theory, meant to me that it could outperform the stock sticky bomb launcher, at least on paper. So I picked it up and booted up a match of TR_walkway and saw how this could affect damage numbers, and I was pleased to see that it did more than a perfect sticky. The problem, however, is that you have to get in within breath-smelling distance to accomplish this. For argument's sake, let's say we're fighting a class with 150 health. The stock sticky bomb launcher leaves your enemy on a crippling 6 remaining health, totaling about 144 damage. And as you could probably imagine, 6 health is just an annoying amount of health to deal with. And if you've managed to do this, you've also probably sacrificed a good chunk of your own health, giving that class a little bit of an upper hand. Compare this to the quickiebomb launcher. With this thing, you can one-shot a class with 150 health with a max charge sticky at close range, doing a total of around 156 damage. Now I'll admit, as I previously stated, you need to be extremely close to your enemy to be able to accomplish this. However, it does not take away from the fact that you'll be outperforming stock stickies from the stock launcher, as long as you keep using your charge meter to its fullest potential. And of course, what I mean by that is you keep charging either to max or close to maximize your damage output. Okay, that upside's good and all, but what about the other upsides? Well, I'm happy to tell you, not only are these other upsides good, they also synergize extremely well with the concept I just laid in front of you. The first one I wanted to pick is max charge time decreased by 70%. This means, of course, the launcher charges up faster. This not only means we can take advantage of that impeccable stat up to plus 35% damage based on charge, but we can also snipe people with the sticky bomb launcher, gaining extra damage for free just by charging. And since charging this thing to full does more damage than stock, we're effectively putting out more damage on a single sticky than stock would. Get this, if we land a perfect sticky that's really far away from where we're from, in turn meaning it'll do less damage, it'll do around 70 damage. Not only is this a good chunk of health, it's also about half the health for 5 out of the 9 classes, and if we use this thing to patrol health kits, it can be a pretty powerful tool. Of course, allowing you to take control of if the enemy team can get health packs. And if you patrol them effectively, you can save them for your team, which just might win someone a fight. This is especially useful in casual where having a medic isn't guaranteed, and saving just one health kit might be able to give you, or someone else, enough time to put out enough damage to win a fight. The next upside I'd like to depict is the 0.2 second faster arm time. While this may seem like an extremely insignificant bonus, it actually might be the best upside about this whole weapon. The normal sticky bomb's arm time is around 0.7 seconds. However, of course, when we equip the quickiebomb launcher, that goes down to 0.5. Not only does this make stickies easier to hit, it also makes a very good tool for saving yourself when a spacebar happy scoutman gets in your face and you can't seem to hit a pipe. We can also use this to airshot with sticky bombs more reliably. This is great because if we manage to pop a scout into the air with a pipe, they're on 25 health, and you can just go with the safer option of hitting an air sticky rather than trying to go for an air pipe, as that's just 75 extra damage you didn't need to do. Another way we could use this faster arm time to our advantage is by being able to sticky jump a lot faster out of bad situations. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been in a tight spot with just enough health to sticky jump out, but the arm time of stock stickies were just not fast enough to get me out, and someone just came in for an easy pick. Seriously. 0.2 seconds is a lot of time in an FPS game as chaotic as TF2. The last upside of this thing is that it's able to destroy enemy sticky bombs. I suppose this allows Demo to destroy stickies at a range rather than him having to go in deep and take them out with his melee, or gamble by exploding them and allowing them to bounce around everywhere. However, I find this to be rarely applicable. It does help every so often though. I suppose, however, this could come up as useful in most game modes, the one exception being CTF. For example, this could be useful for getting a whole plethora of sticky bombs off any control point without having to worry about getting detonated yourself due to the range you have. The other game mode this could be useful in is payload, mainly just to get stickies off the cart. And all of that goes without saying that it's not even guaranteed the enemy team will have a Demoman, so this might just go unused at times. But anyways, let's not let ourselves get distracted by this mediocre upside. There's still a lot more to talk about. After me mentioning all of this, you, the charming, sharp-witted person, might have noticed I haven't mentioned any downsides. And at this point, you must be saying, well, what about the downsides? There's no way it's just all good, right? And yes, you're right. More observational viewers might have noticed how I said that the max charge sticky does plus 35% damage. And prior to that, I mentioned both the max damage of a normal sticky and the max damage of a quickie. And after that, you may have noticed that 156 is not a 35% increase of 144. Well, that's because one of the downsides is a minus 15% damage penalty, meaning that stickies you don't charge at all / barely charge are just worse than stock stickies. You can kind of negate this by charging a bit longer than normal, but of course that's time consuming. And of course, since most game modes are based on time, you're kinda just throwing some time out the window, which may either lead to your death or maybe even the loss of the game. Or on the flip side, charging it for just a little longer could win you the game, with an important pick of a power class that was about to go to the resupply cabinet, and instead you could send them straight to Valhalla. Lastly, for the downsides, there's one that just might be worse than the previous one. Minus 50% clip size. This is what makes the weapon balanced in my opinion. You might have thought before that reloading the stock sticky bomb launcher is annoying, but after using this, stock will just feel like nothing. Not only does sticky spam become less consistent than it already was, it also just becomes so unbelievably time consuming. And I know I'm being redundant with that phrase time consuming, but it turns out a lot of the things about the weapon named the quickiebomb launcher are just time consuming. First it was charge time, then the minus 15% damage penalty playing into that, and now the clip size. And now that I mention that, you might be thinking there's a way we can play around the tediosity of this weapon, which is where I bring up the fact, if you use this thing like stock, you're going to be using 50% more of your time on reloading the quickiebomb launcher, not to mention the other downsides I just mentioned, which is why I implore you to use this thing different than you would stock, to get all the use out of it that you can. And after using this thing for a bit, it's best to use it as an extension of your grenade launcher. What do I mean by that? Well, if we tap someone for 100 with our grenade launcher, let's say a scout, and they start running away, if we use quickiebomb to snipe him before he escapes with the faster charge time, then we've secured a kill we might not have gotten without it. Of course, we can also do this backwards for an even more secure kill with the faster detonation time we get. Another way we could use this thing is to take out sentries more reliably or quicker, as having a faster charge time allows us to destroy sentries that are out of our range more reliably, which not only benefits us but also our entire team. Upward second, for example. The pub meta spot is in such a vulnerable spot, and you could be the one to lead an entire cap by taking out the sentry from this position outside its range. This thing is also decent at tracking spies. The explosion radius and of course the faster dead time play into it tremendously. You can usually nail them with a pipe, in which after they usually try and cloak away, but with the upsides we just mentioned you can track them down with ease typically. All of that leaves us with one last question. Is this thing better than the stock sticky bomb launcher? I don't think so, but there might just be room for discussion here. When weighing the upsides and downsides, I think it could match stock, or perhaps do even better. But of course, side grades are supposed to perform well in certain situations, not every situation. Anyways, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please subscribe. As a starting TF2er, I need to pick up any bit of momentum I can, and anything helps. Also, if you'd like to support me further, I'd appreciate it if you liked the video, or maybe even donated items to me using the Steam trade link I have in the description. And as always, I'll see you next time, and thanks for watching.